There comes a moment when every mask falls, not when you walk away, not when you argue, but when you finally see the truth. The person you once loved, once trusted, was performing. And that performance, no matter how charming, how convincing, how tragic, begins to crack under the light of your awareness. When a narcissist knows that you see through them, their collapse begins, not yours, theirs. They will retaliate. They will try to regain control. But the illusion has already shattered. In today's video, we'll uncover exactly what happens when you stop believing the act, when you stop playing their game. Watch until the end, because what you're about to learn may not only open your eyes, it might save your peace of mind. If this resonates with where you are in your healing journey, don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notifications, and walk with us toward freedom, clarity, and strength. Part 1. When you know who they truly are, the mask starts to fall. The real danger doesn't lie in the screaming or the outbursts of a narcissist. It lies in that quiet moment when you see the truth that everything they've shown you was never their true self, but a character carefully crafted to hide a soul filled with wounds, confusion, and emptiness. When you know who they are, you've touched the most forbidden place in their inner world, the truth. No more illusions of love, no more victim stories, no more "I'm hurt, so I'm allowed to behave this way." The moment you can see through the polished surface they present to the world is the moment you become the biggest threat to their psychological defense system. Someone with narcissistic personality disorder is not just selfish or emotionally unavailable. They are someone who rejected their own true self very early on, rejecting their real emotions, their real soul, and building a replacement self just to survive. A false persona stitched together by mimicking others, borrowing qualities, and transforming all of it into the most convincing mask possible. That is why, when you finally see them, chaos begins not for you, but for them, because their entire existence, from childhood to adulthood, has depended on maintaining that mask. If someone sees behind it, the mask collapses. And when the mask collapses, so does the identity they've spent a lifetime constructing. It's an existential crisis for them, and they'll do anything to prevent that moment. So understand this clearly: your awareness is what they fear the most. You don't need to scream. You don't need to confront. You don't need to expose them to the world. You simply need to be quiet but awake, start asking questions, and no longer react in the same patterns, and that alone makes them panic. You'll start to notice the signs clearly. They become suspicious, overly observant of your actions, or they begin probing through your friends and family. That's because they're starting to feel you're no longer under their control. They suspect that you know, and that suspicion alone is enough to terrify them. But when you truly confirm it, when you say, "I see who you really are," that's the moment everything shatters. Part 2. When you start to see the truth, they start to panic. You see, narcissists can manipulate you with words, emotions, even silence. But they can't control you forever once your eyes are open. When you awaken, when you stop reacting as they expect, stop playing into the roles they assigned you, you are no longer easy to control. You become a threat. That's when the game shifts into a new phase, high-level emotional manipulation. They will pull every tactic they know to regain control. Because once you see the truth, you have the power to walk away. And for the narcissist, that is a psychological death. They lose their emotional supply, their dominance, their distorted mirror, which is you. You'll see them change abruptly. Soft one moment, cold the next, apologetic, then accusatory, drawing you in, then pushing you away. They do this not out of love, but out of fear that you'll leave. Fear that they will no longer have someone to prop up their empty self-image. This is when they begin to gaslight, making you doubt your own reality. They'll say you're too sensitive, that you always misunderstand, or worse, make you apologize for being hurt by them. These words are not for healing, they're to disorient you. When you're confused, you're vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable, they regain control. Don't forget, narcissists are aware of what they're doing. They don't accidentally hurt you or act unintentionally. Their words, their coldness, even their guilt-tripping are all calculated. Every move is designed to achieve one thing: pull you back into their cycle. And if emotional manipulation doesn't work, they'll shift to playing the victim. They might say, "No one has ever loved me like you do," or "I'm going through a hard time." They know your weakness, your compassion, and they won't hesitate to weaponize it to bind you to them once again. But remember this: awakening is not cruelty. Awakening is protection. And when you see the truth, don't look away. Don't rush to forgive before real change occurs. Because if you go back too soon, you're not giving them another chance, you're abandoning yourself. You can love others, but don't sacrifice yourself in exchange for a love built on fear, control, and emotional distortion. Believe this: true love doesn't require you to endure silently. And never forget, when you see the truth and choose to stand in it, you're not weak, you're courageous. Part 3. When you stop believing the illusion, the narcissist falls into silent panic. But remember, the closer you get to the truth, the more dangerous they become. Because you're not just someone who knows the truth, you're now holding up a mirror to them. And for a narcissist, nothing is more terrifying than being exposed to the parts of themselves they've long denied. They won't always scream or throw things like in the movies. More often, it will be a strange kind of silence, a sudden kindness, an unexpected tenderness you've never seen from them before. But make no mistake, it's all a performance, a last-ditch effort to salvage the mask that's starting to crack. And if they sense they're about to lose you for good, they'll play their final card, playing the victim. They'll tell others, "I tried so hard, but he changed," or "I'm hurt, but I don't blame them." It sounds noble, but it's actually a calculated smear campaign dressed up in morality. Why do they do this? Because they know they no longer control you. And if they can't make you love them, they'll make others hate you. It's how they shared responsibility while rebuilding their public image. At this point, if you're not grounded, you might fall into another trap: guilt. You'll wonder, was I too harsh? Are they really hurting? Am I pushing someone fragile over the edge? And that's exactly when you need to remember: you didn't leave someone weak, you left someone who fed on your pain to fuel their control. Anyone can fake love. They can say all the right things. But no one can fake consistent respect. And the narcissist, through coldness, manipulation, and countless silent betrayals, made it very clear: in this relationship, you were never seen as a whole, worthy human being. When you stop believing the illusion, they lose their greatest power: control over your emotions. They may scream that you've changed, but the truth is, you haven't changed, you've awakened. And trust me, your awakening is something they'll never forgive. Not because you've done something wrong, but because you dared to face what they fear most, their true self. If this resonates with your journey, don't forget to subscribe and stay with us for the next parts, where we not only decode narcissistic behavior, but also learn how to rise, heal, and reclaim your power stronger and freer than ever. Part 4. When they realize they can no longer fool you, the inner collapse begins. Once they realize you've seen through all their tricks, when you no longer react, no longer explain, and no longer search for reasons to stay, that's when the mask they've been wearing begins to crack from within. But do you know what scares them the most? It's not your anger. It's not even your departure. What truly terrifies them is that you leave with clarity. Because anger still means you care. Anger means they still have power over you. But your silence, your refusal to argue, that steady look of understanding without needing to speak, that is the final declaration: I've seen enough, and I choose not to play this game anymore. At this point, they enter a state of internal chaos. Not because they love you, but because you were the person who sustained their illusion of self. You were the mirror reflecting the fake perfection they constructed. Now, when you no longer reflect that back, they are forced to confront their true self, a hollow, directionless being without a solid identity. They start to panic silently. They may try to come back with gentleness, apologies, promises to change. Or they may explode in rage, blame, lies. But regardless of the form, the goal is always the same: to pull you back into the game. Because if you stop playing, there's no one left for them to win against. And if they can't manipulate someone, they don't know who they are. You must understand this. What you're doing is not just leaving a relationship. You are collapsing a system of control built on illusion, manipulation, and denial. And that deeply terrifies them, because their entire life has been built on that mask. And if they suspect you might expose them to others, be very careful. At this stage, they may turn to extreme tactics: role reversals, smear campaigns, fabrication. They'll tell others that you were the toxic one, you were the manipulator, you hurt them. They will twist the truth into lies, and lies into truth. But you must remember, you don't need to prove anything. Truth does not need defense, it only needs you to stand in it. And time is always on the side of truth. What you need to do now, more than ever, is to hold your boundaries. Do not react. Do not explain. Do not seek to be understood. Because those who once blindly believed them will eventually see the truth just as you did. You've come too far to turn back, and you deserve a life no longer dictated by manipulation, fear, or programmed guilt. Don't retreat. Don't look back. And if you feel alone, remember, there is a whole community walking the same path you are, step by step, breaking free from the narcissist's maze to find real light. Part 5. When the narcissist loses control of their own self. Here's the frightening truth. A narcissist doesn't just fear losing you, they fear losing the mask they've worn their entire life to survive. And when you walk away, stop reacting, and no longer feed that illusion, they don't just lose control over you, they start losing control over themselves. At first, they might act indifferent. They may pretend nothing happened, still posting, still laughing, still living as if you never existed. But inside, it's chaos. No one ever taught them how to be real. No one taught them how to sit with pain, take responsibility, or face consequences. Since childhood, they've known only one rule: hide, manipulate, dominate. But when no one is left to manipulate, the mask starts to crack. And their greatest fear emerges: they don't know who they are. Without you, they lose their emotional supply, the thing that made them feel powerful, validated, and real. Now they are left with emptiness, no motivation, no direction, no authentic emotion beyond a desperate need for attention. Some narcissists will immediately seek a new supply, someone else to mirror, to control, to recreate the illusion. But no matter who they find, the haunting truth follows them. No one can fill the void inside an unhealed soul. Others spiral into crisis. They may fall into depression, anxiety, or unleash rage onto others. Because when they can no longer control someone, they are left alone with the person they've been running from all their life, themselves. And here's what you must understand. Your silence is the mirror that reflects their inner collapse. You don't need to expose them. You don't need to retaliate. You don't even need to speak. Just walk away with peace, clarity, and no more hope to fix them. That alone is enough to shatter the illusion they've clung to for years. And in that awakening, you don't just reclaim your freedom. You force them, for the first time, to face the shadow within. Part 6. When the narcissist realizes they've lost the only person who truly cared. There comes a moment no one sees when the narcissist sits alone in silence. No more control. No more blame. No more mirrors to reflect their illusion of greatness. And in that stillness, a deep void creeps in. They've lost the one person who genuinely cared. The one who saw their wounds, not just their mask. The one who stayed when others walked away. The one who believed in their potential to change. The one who loved them without conditions. And now, that person is gone. At first, they deny it. They call you weak, disloyal, overly emotional. They try to convince themselves that you were the problem. But time, the one thing they can't manipulate, begins its work. When new people can't match your depth, when shallow connections fade, and loneliness leaks into their days, they begin to feel it. You were different. You weren't just another source of supply. You were someone who truly saw them and still tried to love them. Until you couldn't anymore. Their pain now is not about love, it's about the loss of validation. The loss of someone who made them feel worthy, if only briefly. And ironically, they only recognize your value once they can no longer access it. But sadly, this realization doesn't lead to growth. It doesn't bring healing or authentic remorse. It often leads to more rage, obsession, or attempts to reconnect only to regain control. So remember this. Your absence has created a void they cannot fill with anyone else. Not because you were the one who could save them, but because you were the truest mirror they ever had. And now that mirror is gone, all they have left are the shattered pieces of themselves. Part 7. When they try to come back, but not because they miss you, but because they need you. Don't be fooled. When a narcissist comes back, it's not a sign of love. It's a sign of supply deprivation. It's a silent confession: I can't exist without being reflected through you. I need your emotions to feel alive. They may return with apologies, with guilty eyes, with promises of change. They might tell you about dreams of you, about the emptiness without you. They'll say all the things you once longed to hear while still in that relationship. But you need to stay clear-headed and see one truth. Real love doesn't arrive late, it arrives on time, or not at all. What you're hearing now is not awakening, it's panic. They fear you've finally escaped their control. They're terrified there's no one left to test their power on, to manipulate emotionally, to serve as the mirror for their distorted identity. They're not coming back because they love you, they're coming back because of what you once gave them. And if you let them return, the same cycle will repeat. It might feel great at first. They'll love you like never before. But then, little by little, the old games resume. Denying promises. Twisting reality. Making you feel guilty for simply asking questions. Their remorse isn't real repentance, it's strategy. Tears aren't awakening their weapons. Ask yourself, if you hadn't gone silent and walked away, would they ever have stopped and reflected? If you hadn't withdrawn, would they ever have recognized your worth? The answer is no. And that tells you everything. They only need you once you no longer need them. They miss you only when they can't control you anymore. They want you back just to feel their power still works. And dear one, you deserve a love that doesn't need to be taught how to love you. You deserve someone who recognizes your worth while you're still there, not just after you've walked away. There is a heartbreaking truth that many people only learn the hard way. The more sincerely you love them, the more they take you for granted. The more you forgive, the more they feel entitled to hurt you again. And only when you walk away in silence do they finally start to feel the loss. But remember this. You're not leaving to teach them a lesson. You're leaving to save yourself. You don't need to prove anything anymore. You don't need to win an argument that was never fair. You don't need to turn your pain into a lesson for someone who refuses to learn. Because someone who didn't see your worth when you were present will never deserve your return. Your absence speaks louder than words. Your silence is the most powerful declaration. And your healing, even in quiet, is what finally breaks their control over you. If you're still watching, I want you to know something. You are not alone. There are thousands, even millions, of people walking through the same darkness you once knew. And every day, they're choosing light. They're choosing themselves. So don't go back just because they suddenly miss you. Don't soften for apologies that come without action. And don't trade your current peace to walk back into a velvet cage. Instead, keep going. Use the pain to write a new story. A new chapter where you are the main character, the author, no longer a side role in someone else's drama. And if something in this message resonated with you, please hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who might need this awakening. Not just to understand narcissists, but to deeply understand themselves. You deserve to be loved in a healthy, whole, and unconditional way. And if you must choose between being misunderstood by a narcissist or being fully yourself, always choose freedom.